move some guys. I want vertical double teams. We're going to talk about inside zone and gap scheme, right? So the way I like to move them. I've seen a lot of injuries happen on doing the knockover technique. Seen my center, especially when you're running power, center gets his freaking ankles rolled up because of the knockover. So that's something I'm scared of personally at the level I'm at. I've done it in the league. You got great athletes on both sides. They're going to be able to sustain themselves through that hip knockover block. You'll be able to just put them in the gap. They're not going to fall into your guys' legs. I lost my center 2 years ago because of that, doing the knockover stuff. So I don't like that. That stuff scares me. All right? So what are we doing? What do we want on vertical displaced double teams? Hey, what does it start with? It starts with the fundamentals, right? You got to start with the fundamentals. Good stance, good first 2 steps, good contact, low pads, roll your hips, and freaking lift and drive, right? Why is it crucial? Because I want to put that backer in conflict, right? That's the number one thing. It puts the backside backer, whoever you're double teaming to, in conflict, allows the running back to have a 2-way go on. That's what I really, really want to get, is to have the running back to have a 2-way go on one backer. If we can isolate that guy, make him make the wrong move, it gets us one-on-one with the safety. That's my goal with every run play that I design, is to get one-on-one with the safety. Okay? And then it's gonna create explosive running lanes because it gives you that 2-way go on that freaking backer. All right? All right, what are we talking about? What is the role of the line? We're going to create those running lanes, right? Like I told you, this is not the most pretty thing, but it's all right. We're going to create the running lanes, moving vertical, right? Get them vertical displacement as long as we have one edge on the guy, right? Get one edge on him, get vertical displacement, hip to hip. The running back has a 2-way go. We're going to dominate the line of scrimmage. We got to move them. We got to roll our freaking hips through the block. That's the big thing I teach, is rolling our hips. Because what does that do? It forces their momentum. It's a physics equation, right? O-line play, that's all it is. Mass moving mass. So if you got the physics equation, 2 guys hitting this way, right? If I can roll it and force his force vector vertical, I get mine back horizontal on him, I can displace him. All right, so that's why I always talk about rolling hips. All right, technique and power, that's part of that technique. Rolling your hips through it and snapping them back down. That's something a lot of people don't talk about. You roll your hips through, everyone talks about that, right? Roll your hips, roll your hips, roll your hips. You don't ever talk about snapping back down and recreating that force vector vertical or lateral through the ground, right? We're gonna talk about that. All right. What is it? Hey, it's 2 men working together, right? 2 men. You got to get those 2 guys hip to hip, vertical. One of the drills I'll talk about here in a little bit is called a V combo. We start that every freaking practice doing some sort of V combo drill, either from the ground or from standing up, already fit into a defender. All right? Horizontal displacement. What is that? It's a lateral movement, right? We're trying to knock them over laterally. That's something I don't like a lot of, right? Because on the inside zone and gap scheme. All right? Outside zone, you got to freaking move them laterally, right? But inside zone and gap scheme, we want that vertical displacement, okay? Here we go. What's the difference? Hey, vertical displacement, put the backer in conflict. We already talked about that. It's going to create those open gaps, 2-way go. That's the big thing. Over here, it's forcing D-line laterally in gap. So in that inside zone and gap scheme, it's going to freaking cause that injury, right? The injury to the freaking center is my biggest thing. I hate that. Because I've been that center. I've been rolled up on before too. It sucks. All right? Any of y'all played center? Any of y'all? You ever been rolled up on by a guy getting knocked over? Hate that crap, man. It happens, but I just don't like doing that. Outside zone, you got to get some lateral movement. So we're right there. And then it defines the gap. That's the other thing I forgot to talk about. It defines the gap for the linebacker. Where does he need to fit? When we're working a vertical displacement double team, he has no defined gap. He has a 2-way go he has to make too. So make him make a decision. Let the running back press the hole. He makes the wrong decision. Back's going to hit it the opposite direction, right? So that's the big thing there. All right. What's the key elements? Hip to hip. Number one thing, right? You talked about your pad, putting it hip to hip, right? Squeeze the hips together. Told you, my number one drill I do is called a V combo. I get the base teaching point of it. Don't even start from a stance. Put your foot to foot, your hip to hip, lean into each other, fit in on a defender, and drive. That's snow plow. That's what Coach Goose used to always call it, right? Snow plow. You make it a V combo, driving vertical, penetrating through that guy, moving him up the field, okay? Then roll the hips, right? Roll the hips. Create that freaking movement and the displacement. Change that force vector, okay? How many of y'all in here ever taken physics? Come on. All right, good. There we go. That's my guy. What's your major?
Exercise and sports studies.
So you thought you had to take physics for that stuff, huh? Heck yeah. Physics is all we're doing, right? Mass moving mass. So we got to be able to deal with those force vectors and adjust the way we're attacking those guys. I talked to my whole line like that the last 3 years. I've taught them a lot of stuff about science because of the way our bodies work. You got biomechanics, how our bodies work there. You got to understand how you develop patterns. Anyone ever heard of myelin sheath? No? It's something your body creates when you have a repetitive activity. So your body actually ingrains that into and shortens the distance that the neurons have to fire to create that connection. So the more times you do something, the thicker that myelin sheath gets and the shorter the path gets. So that's why perfect reps are what you got to get. It's not just reps. I was actually having a talk with my offensive coordinator last night. We, at Limestone, we want to get 15 reps in 10 minutes. That's all we cared about. Well, I want at least 12 good reps during that 10 minutes. Give me 12 good reps that are quality more than just getting to 15 reps, because we had a bunch of crap reps in those 15 reps in 10 minutes. Sorry to go on a freaking tangent. All right, the other part, eyes on the second level. What does that do? We're going to at least get 2 hands on the defender, 4 eyes on the backer, right? We got to be able to snap off. One of the other things I talk about with my O-line, what's the hardest thing to do? Get them to sustain a block on a down lineman, right? Sustain it. Stay on the double team. They always want to come off early, right? So the way I teach that, I tell them, hey, we're not coming off till the back enters the hole. So the first day we're double teaming on inside zone, I told them, don't come off till the back gets tackled by the backer. Don't snap off. That's your timing point that day. The next day, speed it up 1 step. If they still makes the tackle, speed it up another step. It's easier to make them go faster and snap off of it sooner than it is to slow them down. Everyone knows that. It's always stay on the double team. They're always leaving too early, getting split, right? That's what happens. So that's my little thought process I teach my guys. All right? Why is it a game changer? It's going to create those clear lanes. All right? It's going to allow the running back to press one single double team, right? If he knows the double team he's got to aim at, his landmark on inside zone, I'll give you our landmark. We're aiming at the crack of the center. It's either going to be the freaking play side 2-eye is going to be the double team, or that backside 3, depending on where the linebackers are shaded. Okay? That's the double team he's going to press. It's the one he's going to break off of. It's going to neutralize down the defenders. It allows you to sustain blocks on those down linemen. All right? If you do this, you do vertical double teams the right way, you put that backer in conflict. The only thing that gets you is run through backers. Well, you've developed that timing. You see them running through, you got to snap off now. Snap off faster and violently. And then it leads to explosive plays. Like I said, my goal is to put them one-on-one with the safety every freaking time. All right? If we can handle the box, let the running back make one miss, we got an explosive play. So my first 2 years at Limestone, we had a 1,500 and a 1,700 yard rushing. Pretty daggum good. Last year, I think we got to 1,300 yards rushing. We were a little unbalanced last year. All right. Timing is the number one thing, like I talked about. Snapping off late. That's the way I talk about it. Snap off as late as possible. Allow that back to get tackled the first couple of days. Allow the backers to make that play, and then speed it up from there. I think that's a great mindset for those guys to get in, to realize when that back is actually inserting into the hole. Because they really don't know. We don't have eyes in the back of our head, right? So you got to be able to get that feel and that timing for it. Then it's footwork, right? First 2 steps. I always talk about a 6-inch step on that first one. What are you really trying to get? You're trying to get 2 inches. You can get 2 inches on that first step, get some positive ground, drive your second step through the midline of the guy, you're going to have some displacement. I had a good talk with Tony Sperano Jr. Any of y'all know who that is? He's the O-line coach of the Colts. I spent about 4 hours last year at the Combine talking with him just about double teams, philosophy. He's working with Quentin Nelson, right? You were just talking about him, right? He's like, honestly, with my guys, I don't care which foot they step with first. As long as they know where their double team's going and they get it done, they're athletic enough, I'm going to let them step with whatever foot they want. So they're working a single on the play side of an inside zone. Everyone uses single, double, triple, ABC on the backside, all that stuff. They're working a single on the front side. He doesn't care if he steps right foot or if he steps left foot first. Because he said the timing difference for those guys is not that great. For guys at my level, that's a big timing difference, right? I got to have them in sync. So I got to slow that down just to know what you're working with. High school, probably definitely got to define it and allow them to have those solidified steps. And know 1, 2, and they're making contact on that second step, right? So that's just the difference. You got to coach to the athletes you have. That's one thing that a lot of coaches get in a trap. This is what I want to do. Well, if you can't do it with the athletes you have, coach to the athletes you have. That's one thing I've seen a lot of coaches fall into that trap. I spent some time up at the University of Arkansas. What year was that? I think it was 2018. Okay, they had a bunch of dudes that looked like me when I played. They were 6'7", 345 playing O-line, and they're out there trying to run the spread. I'm like, why don't you just run duo, coach? He finally implemented duo while I was up there. They ran it. What would they run? Like 4 plays in the game for 3 touchdowns. I'm like, work with what you got. They ended up getting fired after the year because they didn't keep working with what they got. So that's what I want to, especially you high school coaches. You're going to have waves of good players, bad players, all that stuff. Small ball coaches, right? Where I'm at, I'm a small ball coach. I got to go recruit to what I can get. But right now, I took over a team. I got to work with what I have, right? So I got to develop my offense, develop the defense, develop my staff around what we have right now, and then go get what we want.